back. It's your Geordie Journos. And we're at a full complement. Look at this.
Oh, yeah. It's great to be back.
You've been asking, so we deliver. We always deliver.
You've come down from the sky, Jordan.
Yeah, I've caught up on some of the
Down here
videos, and I'm presuming some of the viewers might have thought I was dead.
Not with us.
But no, it's great to be back. I've got to admit, I've been feeling a little bit left out, not being on with you guys of late. So
It's not the same.
yeah, you've done well.
No, it was short, that wasn't it?
Well, you know about that.
No, it wasn't. It was as unprofessional as ever. Right, I'm going to get the T's and C's out of the way before we decide. You'll know by the title what we're going to talk about, but the T's and C's, 4Rivers Financial Planning, are the proud sponsors of all things long-form Geordie Journos, even though this will be a probably slightly shorter one due to time constraints. Also, I want to give a big push initially about you guys will be able to see us on TV in the next few days. Every 10:30 p.m. on Monday evening, you will be able to catch Newcastle United content from your Geordie Journos on Freeview channel 276. I really like that. We can do the unprofessional stuff. I
knew Liam would be stumbling and will not remember the channel number for Shots TV, channel 276.
So he's just
got it up on my laptop screen.
And it'll be in the bio, so do check it out. That'll be 10:30 on Monday night, where we'll be talking about a whole array of different Newcastle United topics when we do that video.
Yeah, I mean, we've tried to be more professional here, so we're setting the standards here in Geordie Journos Towers, which is where we are. Bit of a background.
It is. I hope you like it.
It's my yard.
Yeah. No, your yard's class.
Is a dog running around? It's chaos.
Is she not here? No. The fourth Geordie Journo is missing.
She doesn't have much to say.
Yeah. Right, so we're going to talk a little bit about the questions that you guys have fired into us. We've done videos in Jordan's absence when he was up in the sky. We did a few videos, and some of the questions that came back were PSR related. What's happening? What about the money? Can Newcastle do this? Can they not? How much do they need to raise? So I thought we may as well address it on the information that we have and how things go. Of course, this has to be caveated very early in this video to say this is a very fluid situation and is constantly changing and switching. And by the time you watch this video, it could already have altered and shifted. We just don't know how this will go. But there is as you've described it, one of you guys, soft deadline of the 30th. When Newcastle, we know, having spoken to people at the club, that the suggestion was that it was correct that they had to raise something by the 30th. Again, this has to be caveated without the Geordie Journos having any access to actual deal sheets, accounts, sums that have been brought in for sponsorship, revenues, commercial deals, transfers, wages. Without any of that information at hand, we cannot make an exact assessment on what's going on with Newcastle's PSR calculations and situation. But from our knowledge and the basic calculations that we've made from the public, information that is available to the public, and of course we were all in the meeting in January which talked about being close to the edge with regards to PSR from Darren Eales and other financial officers, etc. at the football club, that we've got a bit of information that we can share. And it's going to sound very ballpark, but we have to do this because I'm not going to sit here and commit to say Newcastle United need to do X, Y, and Z because we can't do that. But we believe it's a ballpark figure anywhere between around £5 to £40 million that Newcastle United will have to raise. That is a big ballpark figure, but we're never going to lie to you on here. We're never going to sit here and say we know things we don't.
Yeah, the bottom line is they do need to raise something.
Whether
that is in a commercial deal, a player sale, money needs to come into the club before that date, unless Newcastle can wrangle some form of special dispensation.
Yeah, I don't think you would be pushing to sell a player that you've just signed 12 months ago for the future if you didn't need to raise some funds. Again, I'll caveat, that's just my opinion, I don't know that, but reading in between the lines, Newcastle only signed Yankuba Minteh last year. They're trying to get him out the door.
He's the easy option, isn't he?
Well, it is, exactly. And you guys have done a video on that.
We said it's a no-brainer. We said it's incredible business if they're able to get 40 million, which is the fee they've reportedly agreed with Leon, but then hasn't Yankuba Minteh's preference is to remain in the Premier League.
So we're led to believe, and there seems to be interest from Everton, Brighton, others. I think and the balance of probability, that's the deal that would get done still at this stage. We're talking about this at around 2 o'clock on Friday afternoon. So again, I think it's important with timestamp.
Something can break at any time.
So
I'll keep.
So I do think it's important with timestamp that, because you could end up watching this and thinking, well, why is he saying that? Because he signed for Leicester, or you know what I mean? Like there could be something changed.
Your phone's just buzzed. You might want to check that.
Yeah, I'll not be anything like that here. I'm not Jim White. But my thought on it is, and this is very loose. Were Newcastle United to go past the deadline and not have something done, I would be shocked and surprised if they were to find themselves in breach. And were Newcastle ever to be in breach of PSR, and it would bring potential points deductions in the future, that would it would fly in the face of everything that we've learned or been told about PIF run Newcastle United, who have always given off the air of being whiter than white, knowing that they probably had to be whiter than white. And I've talked about this on here before, that there's a potential that they maybe even had to sell their soul to get this deal through. I think they have to be whiter than white, and were they to break, at one of the first opportunities really, break the rules, whether you believe in the rules or not, to not fit the financial parameters which are there for everybody, and they know the rules. When you come into the game, you either play by them or you don't. And having said that they would play, I'd be very, very disappointed and surprised that they would allow that to happen. The premium points are a premium at
premium
the top.
Points are premium.
Premium points are premium. Non-premium points, of course. No, but that's just me jumbling and mumbling. Points are premium at the top end of the division, and I think if you look at this league table, and I haven't done this, probably should all, but in true Geordie Journos style, take 6 points off Newcastle's total last season and see where they end up. Add 6 points to their total and see where they end up. Were it to be something like that, some kind of points deduction, which there's precedent for, yes, on appeal, taken down with other sides in the Premier League, but take 6 points or add 6 points, and you're about to tell us because you just Googled it.
They'd come ninth.
They'd come ninth if you took 6 points off. And what if you added 6 points on?
They'd come
fifth. Big difference, and that's key. That there are such fine margins when you're fighting with top teams at the top end of the division. Doesn't matter so much in the middle, but when you're right at the top and right at the bottom, 6 points is a lot.
They come 8. Sorry.
So you 2 points out. It's 2 points out. 2 wins out of 38. It's a small percentage in the grand scheme, but can make a big difference when every point matters at the top end of the division. So I think any points deduction has to be avoided. It's all felt like a big risk, a really big risk. Why would you roll the dice to the point where there's so many variables in football that you wait right to the last moment to have to do a deal like this? It doesn't make sense to me. But I'm not an expert.
It seems like, sorry John, you're pinning your entire PSR strategy on a 19-year-old kid who may or may not have been a success. It turned out he was a success at Feyenoord, and Newcastle could arguably demand an inflated fee for him, but
it probably wasn't the plan. It probably wasn't it's become the plan.
It seems like a massive roll of the dice to make him almost a PSR pawn, which he won't want to be as well.
Instead of a red card in that cup final, sorry Jordan, I'm still in the sky. He's still in the sky.
I still can't get away with it.
I was just going to say on Minteh quickly before you come in, Jordan, that when you talk about strategies and things like that lad, instead of getting a red card in the Dutch Cup final, could have done his ACL.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he becomes a totally unsaleable asset.
Yeah.
And then you're relying upon a Saudi market that hasn't even reopened yet to try and get rid of a Kieran Trippier, Miguel Almiron or Callum Wilson. Big risk.
So if Newcastle know their PR situation and they're aware that they need to raise funds, if that is the case, go back to the January transfer window. If you know you need to raise funds, you had nothing on the table for Kieran Trippier. There was obviously interest from Saudi Arabia, Miguel Almiron. I think in the end it came down to the players' preference to stay. Yeah, there was talk of Callum Wilson. If you need to sell, there was an opportunity in there to do it in January rather than wait to what has been, because this Minteh stuff has came in sort of the last week of the soft deadline. I think that would be a major mistake on Newcastle's part and a real disappointment if they were to breach PSR when they had the opportunity to go and do a deal in January. And even possibly even early on in the summer. I know it's probably complicated with maybe the Euros and things like that, because that has gotten away a little bit. But I think it's a really, again, we're talking really negatively here, but if they were to breach it, it's a really, really bad look, and I can see a sort of narrative that it would create outside of Newcastle, because a part of me thinks the rules are so bad and have been, I'm trying to think of a word here, but the rules have been
so restrictive, aren't they?
Exactly, and it almost a part of me thinks, and this is probably a really unprofessional view, and a supporter's view. I've lost me track there.
Just spend? Is that what
it's? Just spend, or just take the points deduction, and that's because plenty of Premier League clubs now are beginning to fight against these PSR rules. There's going to be changes at some point. So now I think it isn't just Newcastle who are fed up with the rules. There's a lot of clubs. So you just take the points deduction and fight it and try and get these rules changed, because as long as these rules stay as they are, there'll be plenty of other times that we'll be sitting here talking about PSR, because it's not going to go away until it's changed. And that's my biggest frustration, is because, again, we've talked about loads. Newcastle are a progressive football club who want to spend, and you're in a position now where, there's been talk of Bruno and Isaac going, obviously I don't think that'll happen, and then it's rested on a 19-year-old lad's shoulders who's got ambitions to play in the Premier League, was signed with the view of coming to Newcastle, making a success of it, where he's being almost forced out the door if indeed they do have to raise funds for PSR. I just think the whole thing, in no subtle terms, absolutely stinks.
The rules do. So my point on that is, I agree with every single point you make there. The rules do stink. They're wrong and need changed. However, the big point on this is, the rules need changed, but we're going to get, when Geordie Journos tell us,
I know,
we're going to get kicked out. That's me just looking at it.
We're never safe from
you. We're never safe. The Geordie Journos just leave us alone. Leave our own devices. Anyway, right, what was I saying there? Yeah, the rules are wrong. The rules need changed. However, it's like suddenly saying, I know the rules of a game of football, but I don't agree with them. So Alexander Isak, you just stand 20 yards offside and you're going to score goals no matter what. The rules are the rules. You have to fit to them, whether you like them or not, and that's my biggest problem. If they've left it so late that they're going to struggle or they're going to have to take risks, it was risk. You didn't have to go down this. You probably, if they'd come out in January and said, look, we've got to take 15 million for Kieran Trippier. Eddie Howe doesn't like it. He wants to keep the players and keen on it, but we're going to have to do it. We're going to have to take that money, because otherwise we're at risk of a points deduction for next season. I think most fans, even in January, went, let's write this season off then. Yeah.
Especially
we'll be clean slate next year.
Especially at that time in January, where there was so much worry. You'd had Everton with the points deduction. You'd had Nottingham Forest with the points deduction. It was red hot at that time. So you'd be almost, a lot of clubs were probably panicking at that point. Yeah. And if Newcastle, knowing when we spoke to Darren Eales in that January, they were close. They were like really close, and then they would have to sell a player between the start of June and the end of June for a significant fee potentially.
When all the windows are open.
When they had an offer on the table for Kieran Trippier for best part of 15 million, I think 13 million it was. Why don't you accept that? When Kieran Trippier at the time was not in the greatest of form as well, and was
happy to go,
open to a move as well.
Yeah.
So I think it would be a sort of slip up on the club's part if they were a massive one, really, if they were to fall short of PSR rules. And I think what Jordan was saying a little bit, there's almost if Newcastle were just short, why not just go, we'll just spend as much as we've breached the rules now, let's actually spend. Why be so meticulous with everything that to only fail anyway? I think by a very small margin as well.
I do think the amount that you break by though does have a big impact on what your point deductions can potentially be.
Everton were initially deducted 10 points, weren't they? And they were only about £20 million over what we understand. I mean, if you look at the figures, it looks like they're way over, but speaking to Simon Cabba, Newcastle's Chief Financial Officer, he explained that they were actually only about 20 million over. So there's a lot of deductibles. And if you were to get up Newcastle's finances on Company House, Newcastle looked like they'd be in breach of it already for the 3 seasons prior to the one we're talking about, but they're not, because of all those deductibles, academy, women's football, stadium improvements, training ground improvements, all that gets taken off, and that was a big part of Everton's case as well.
As ever, we can't really give you clarity on that because it is such a complex calculation in many ways that we don't know the deductibles, we don't know.
We know vague sort of what can be taken off. But
so it's a very difficult question to answer, but I think we all kind of felt it was quite important that we'd had so many questions in the comments of people saying, well, what about this? What about PSR? I felt we maybe had to address what our knowledge of it was and where we think the situation stands at present. I think we're probably, and I don't know, shake or nod your heads, but I think we're probably all in agreement that I think Newcastle will find a route out of this. I think it will be more of a surprise and disappointment if they didn't.
It'd be amateurish.
Yeah, I think that's a really fair comment. It would be an amateurish situation when Newcastle United to have breached the rules, given that they know the rules of play, given that the high-profile nature of the ownership and the words that they've said themselves that they wouldn't do this.
Yeah, the message has always been quite staunch, quite professional. We are being cautious, we're being careful. Even from the very first transfer window, we're being careful. They were spending money, but they were spending it very wisely, very carefully. And they've continued to do that. Okay, the last summer probably was a little bit unfortunate with some of the transfers, but every investment they've made has made sense almost. Like you can justify why they've made it. And if they're going to do all that and then still fall short at a very early hurdle, it's been less than 3 years since the takeover, it wouldn't look good. It
would be such a shame now if they were to fall short, given that they've put building blocks in place. So you think about the commercial deals that are done at the pitch now, Adidas, Seller, even the Noon sponsor, looking at training ground sponsor, which hasn't been sort of sealed yet. But
that's a problem, isn't it? Where are these deals? That's my problem all along, that I thought these would have been things wrapped up within the first 2 years. It's actually been a harder sell for them than I think even they imagined.
But they have done a lot. So they've took £5 million a year from Castor to then a rumoured £30 million a year from Adidas. They've got these building blocks in place to build the commercial levels, and if they were to fall short now, I think it would be a real disappointment.
The easy wins is what I think they've done. They've done the shirt sponsorship deal, which, although these were complex deals put together, they were easy wins. Newcastle United should have been earning more for the amount of sales that they can make. Newcastle United should have been getting more for the sponsorship they have on the front of shirt and the side of shirt as well. For me, they're the easy wins. The ones that I thought were easy wins that they haven't gone about doing is you could stick anything on a training ground sponsor, and you could do the same with the stadium as well. It's still St James's Park, everybody, but you can do it with the stadium. I think there's certain things, a training kit sponsor, there's certain holes in this armoury where I think, could you have done more? Could you have helped not just the short term but the long term by getting those deals on board? They'll come. I just thought they might have come sooner. Anyway, we're going to have to wrap up the Geordie Journos, We're going to get booted out.
Bit of a rant in the end, I think. A little bit, for me anyway. I had a bit of a rant there.
No, it's a high pressure situation, isn't it?
It's quite
a white knuckle situation heading into the final couple of days as well.
It's going to be an interesting few days.
We'll see what happens.
Get that channel number up again.
276, wasn't it?
Was it?
Well, I had to say it about 5 times when I was promoting it. I just kept getting it wrong.
Should put the outtakes of Dom trying to do the
we should.
The promo.
So you'll be able to catch us next after watching this video on Shots TV, which is on Freeview channel 276. That'll be 10:30 on Monday night. All your support and all your views will be much appreciated. So do get on there, do share, like and subscribe, do watch online or on Freeview as you can, and that will be regular slot. So not only will Geordie Journos be on YouTube, we're also on TV. Thanks. Click the bell. There's a little donation button if you like what we do as well. You can do that. 4 of us financial planning. All the details are in the bio. It'll be in one of these corners. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and we'll promise, or we'll try, to keep the 3 together this summer. Eventually. Cheers, guys.